6 trustees in attendance. Mr. McCutcheon will be joining us at a later time. That this meeting has been duly called and the notice of the meeting has been duly posted for time and manner required by law. At this time, we are going to go into closed session according to section 551.001 et sec of the Texas Government Code. It is now 5 o'clock.
She,
I can't get it to come back up. It'll just back up.
okay.
There's a delay.
Oh, yep, it's back up.
Okay, we're good.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
Oh, we have a surprise introduction to make.
Yes, we have, Ms. Gillum is here.
She can come in because she'll be our 10th person.
Okay.
Miss Gillum? We usually do handshakes and hugs, but we're going to have to settle for our elbows. So would you tell the board a little bit about yourself and your experience with pre-K?
Absolutely. My name is Normal Gillum. I'm currently living in Dangerfield, Texas. I'm the principal of Jefferson Primary School. We house pre-K, Head Start, and kindergarten. So I have 10 teachers, about 150 kids on campus, and this is my second year to be there. Okay, thank you.
Usually we have a big crowd and a little bit more, so
Yes.
apologies, but thank you for driving all this
Thank
way.
you.
Did you bring your family with you or anything?
Yes, but I left them in DeSoto.
Okay. Just dropped them off? Good
Yes.
plan. Okay, so,
Just want to say welcome. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you all as well.
thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on our agenda is consideration and action to approve professional contracts as presented in closed session.
I think she left with our candidates.
That's okay.
Okay, you can still make a motion.
I'll entertain a motion at this time.
Motion to approve professional contracts as presented in closed session.
Motion by Mr. Rogers, second by Mr. Schofield. Is there any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, next item up would be consideration of possible action to appoint an additional school marshal who's been certified as eligible by the Texas Commission on Law Enforcement pursuant to WISD policy, CKC legal and local, in section 37.0811 of the Texas Education Code. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the two individuals that were presented in closed session.
Move we approve the marshals as presented in closed session.
Motion by Mr. Schofield, or second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Kriegel. Any other discussion? All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0. Okay, moving along, we're in item 4, it'll be board workshop. We have one topic on our board workshop this evening. So regarding intra-district transfer guidelines, I believe this was requested by Mrs. Starnader for a workshop discussion.
You usually have Ms. Timmerman to do that for you, but she's been moved away from
exactly.
you.
Well, Dr. Kane had mentioned, I think we briefly discussed this maybe last year with I know we've been cleaning up some of the
Yes.
transfer policies and all of that. So I think this is just kind of a leftover from that. So, I mean, I'm totally open to what, to feedback from anyone. Do you want to explain, do you want me to explain, or do you want to explain?
Your
what-
choice.
Go ahead. I'll let you explain.
And I can give you the numbers.
Okay, yeah.
Actually, we have 365 employee-related student transfers. 189 are parent employees intra-district, and 139 are parent employees who live out of district. So last year, we kind of cleaned that up about what's available and what's not. But then I think someone brought it up to you about the grandparent, that we have 26 grandparent employees on different campuses. Like, I'm on Felty, but my child goes to Felty. My grandchild goes to Felty. And then grandparent employee on the same campus. I'm teaching at Felty. I'd like my grandchild to be at Felty. Grandparent out of district, the grandparent actually lives out of the district and the child lives out of it. Okay, I'm not giving you the numbers. 26 grandparent employee on different campus, 7 grandparent employee on the same campus, and 4 grandparent employee out of district. So 37, and of all those 37, the student may or may not live in the district, and the grandparent employee may or may not live out of the district. So that's the numbers. I think there had been some question, because that was not put in that long ago, and it was in with a lot of other, and
Right, and I don't know if you talked to Mr. Morgan about it, but I think he, it seems like at one point,
actually, he gave me these numbers.
maybe, oh, okay, good. Yeah, I guess my only concern, and like I said, I don't want to I want input, I don't want to be the sole decider on this. My concern is that, and what I've heard from constituents is, shouldn't it just be the legal guardian of the child who is allowed that perk as an employee? If we're fine with keeping it as is, I'm fine with that. So there you go. Does anybody else have any thoughts on that?
So we're talking 37 kids out of roughly 9,500, which breaks down to 0.004%. If it was an issue, I'd say it's probably something we might need to look at. Of the 37, we don't even know actually how many are or are not their legal guardians. So I would assume that some of those 37 are their legal guardians. So we're talking even a less percentage than that. I mean, to me, it's not an issue at this point. I'm not saying that it couldn't be, but to me, it's not an issue based on those numbers. It's just my opinion. Anybody else?
Well, my first impression was drawing the line at legal guardian, but looking at the numbers, you know, being very few people in the big picture. Now, I agree you have to draw the line somewhere, you know, but Dr. Kane, what do you feel is the downside to changing it?
The most vulnerable I think the district would be is that when we go out and say we're overcrowded, that transfer numbers always come up. But I will also say transfer employees who can bring their children in the district is a real attraction for the district, okay? So the upside is we get a wider range of teachers to select from because we have a lot of perks. I will tell you, our daycare is a number one perk too. So we have a lot of employee intangible benefits. Well, I guess it'd be tangible, that help. That was actually brought up with rezoning. Well, if all these kids didn't live here, Global's always a kind of a target for, well, look at all the kids who don't live here. So that's on the one hand that you have to look at. On the other hand, people want to come here because we're a really great school district. So are people leaving you or are people coming here? So those are the things that you have to look at. But it's a balance. There's a lot of, well, and again, Ms. Darnader's getting a lot of complaints from people who think it's a really big deal
Well,
to do that. Well,
not lately, but I mean, like I said, I think we first talked about this maybe even a couple of years ago. And I think it just came up again as
I think
we're
what
just
happened-
cleaning up all
Yeah.
of that transfer policy
I
stuff.
think what happened when we were doing the transfer stuff, that was kind of just trying to get it
Right.
where it was.
Right.
And the board just kind of indicated, look, bring that up later. Right now,
Right.
we're kind of done talking with transfers.
Right,
And that-
I think the policy had already, I think we had just approved it or something. I can't exactly
We had just changed
remember,
it
but-
back because we were
Right.
letting,
Yeah.
transfers in everywhere. I think Mr. Autry makes a good point. If it's not a big concern, because when it's 37, and I would guess that, I think you're correct, that many of them, it's like, I'm the caregiver. And that's why they want them at that campus. But even when they outgrow your campus, they may not be your campus, but they're still going home with you. I'm glad that you brought this up because I think we need to look at every policy that we have. But to be honest with you, I was surprised that the 37, and I would guess probably, my guess would be 10 or 12. could actually get it through a hardship anyway, because if you're the custodial grandparent, I would suggest if we did stop it, that we stopped it through attrition, rather than, but it is a draw. Some of these, I know it says grandparents, some of our grandparents aren't that old.
With a number that low, we're also attracting tenured teachers with that. Those guys that are doing that have been teaching for a while. So I think when we have the space for it, 30.04%, and like you said, some of those would be, get it anyway. I think the more tenured teachers are going to bring more to the table than that's heartburn you're going to get for letting somebody have their grandkid here.
Well, what you explain, like when we have a rezoning or we ask to add a campus, is at the elementary, if you go over 22, you have to hire an extra teacher, okay? That's not true generally. Obviously, we have a number like 28 or 29, but if you have 22 in the class at a junior high and you add 2 or 3 for every class, because we got 34 at, no, that's Wallman. We've got Coleman, 46. That's not adding teachers, so you're looking at 46 times about $6,200 or
Spread
something.
that over 3
Yeah,
grades.
that we're getting in attendance.
Yeah, you get paid for it.
But a lot of times taxpayers don't understand that. So, did you ask me my recommendation or what I was thinking?
Just what we thought
That's what
the,
I'm thinking.
the upside and was, or the downside to changing it to just legal guardian.
I think the downside would be, and to not do attrition would be huge. But I think, I kind of agree with the hue and cry. When there's a hue and cry, I'm glad to hear that they're not talking to you about it that much more. I think right now, that I think it was I thank you for bringing it up. I think it's one of those things we need to look at, but I think what it showed us is there's really not that much of a problem. But that doesn't mean if the complaints or questions start up again, that we wouldn't look at it again. But I think we always keep these numbers.
Is that where we draw the line in our policy? It can't be nieces, nephews, cousins, aunt,
Right,
Do
it's
we,
grandparents.
does it specify grandparent? Okay.
Our step-grandparent. Yes, and Mike Morgan is very religious about checking those things out.
Right, I think it originally just came up back when, I think maybe our transfer, we were getting a lot of complaints about transfers for just that had been allowed for other various reasons,
I
a
think-
while back, and that was just part of it. So I'm good with.
I think when you were
leaving it
hearing
alone.
it, there wasn't as much oversight as to this really is your grandchild and not like Mr. Rogers is saying your niece's uncle's neighbor. Okay, this literally are grandparents.
Right.
And I would think most of them are, not custodial, but quasi-custodial. But thank you for bringing it up.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, that'll conclude our board workshop. We'll go into item of reports. First report will be project manager report. I know Mr. Craig's still under the weather.
That will be me. I'm being Mr. Craig, and I told Mr. Craig we'd all wave to him. So everybody wave to Mr. Craig and tell him to get well because he is feeling under the weather. If you know Michael Craig, if he's not here, it is because he is deathly ill. He does not have COVID. I'm not supposed to say that. He is clean. He's been tested. He's good, and we miss him. So not that I could ever. Oh, and by the way, now Laura Villarreal did these for him. So this fancy up, this is Miss Villarreal's work. So Simpson, okay. The kitchen floor will be completed this week. Kitchen appliances will be installed next week. And the grid work for section C and D is complete. Now you're looking at the playground area. It looks like a huge campus. I mean, it is a big campus. Do you look at that and think elementary school? So they were using the drone today, if I read his email correctly. This is from the drone. This is the second floor area, and I believe that's 5th grade, because we couldn't have younger kids below. Millwork is being installed in the classrooms. See all those cubby holes? Okay, former teachers, what do you think those elementary teachers see when they see all those cubby holes? That's, yeah. And Air conditioning ducts are going in and drywall is mounted and painted throughout the building. The courtyard is coming together nicely. Colored concrete is being poured and concrete seating is in place. I believe you're going to be surprised can you go backwards that one slide? I think there's going to be a little surprise on what's actually going to be on there. I'm not going to let the secret out though. But that's not a swimming pool or a spa for the principal, our board members, okay? Construction continues to move forward ahead of schedule. And Michael wouldn't say that if he were here, but I'm saying because we've got the greatest project manager in the world, that's why we're ahead of schedule. The agri-science facility, we have power. Painting is near completion. The middle awnings will soon be added, weather permitting, and concrete and landscaping will soon be complete. Oh, that's it. Good job, Michael. And good job, Laura. You actually really fluffed up that report.
Any comments on the project manager report?
I hope.
Moving along, secondary grading guidelines.
May I ask to enter the room, the one and only, Dr. David Averett.
Well, this is different.
I know, doesn't it feel strange? It feels like we're practicing for the
Somebody
meeting.
talking about does the NBA want to play without an audience? I mean, y'all got an audience on. So let me see. I'll open this up. So I can discuss it, or I can answer. I can take questions.
I think everybody's read it.
Okay. So one of the challenges that we had, one of the many challenges was, obviously trying to get meaningful work to students, distance learning, and then what's the meaning of that work, pretty much. We looked at some different districts around us, and there was a plan that we heard about down south that looked pretty good. And so a lot of what we looked at with our plan is taken from Humble ISD. They kind of put together what is kind of a lot of the skeleton of this. We looked at it with all of our secondary principals. Had Dawn Hilburn give a good look at it on the accountability side, the testing side. She added some things as far as trying to explain what the testing implications were. Bottom line is we don't want any student to be hurt by their grade by this situation, especially at the secondary level when you're looking at credits being earned and stuff like that. Elementary had already pretty much figured out they were going to use like a portfolio method to take a look at what the kids are doing right now, take a look at the totality of their year to make those types of decisions as far as promotion is concerned. Secondary wise, we know, those of us that work secondary schools, we know kids will say, what's the first question they ask, Mr. Schofield? Do I get a grade on this? Yes. Yeah. And so they're going to ask, do I get a grade on this? And that's a part of that is, will I do it or not? Well, in this situation, we want there to be a grade, but we also don't want any student to be punished if they have intermittent internet, if they have to share a device with multiple family members. If they're having a tough time with the instruction because they don't get to see their teacher every day. So what we wanted to do is, yes, we make it meaningful, but it won't punish them. And so we'd like for this to be like Dr. King's words, a hold harmless. If your third 9 weeks grade is good, your fourth 9 weeks cannot hurt you, it can only help you. I think in some situations we may see kids with higher grades their fourth 9 weeks than their third 9 weeks. In this case, it'll help them come up. If they're in a situation where they're struggling right now, but they're okay in the third 9 weeks, we won't count this fourth 9 weeks against them. So the document kind of has some Q&A in there, kind of gives some examples of how we would calculate a grade. Senior class, how we do class rank. Our board policy already states that we do class rank at the end of the third 9 weeks for graduation honors, val, sal, top 10, that kind of stuff. So it's already there. Pass fail. A lot of folks are talking about pass fail. What we learned from Region 10 is that the NCAA looks at a pass as the lowest possible grade a student can get. And if you're a student that is trying to get that NCAA clearinghouse, they don't call it the clearinghouse anymore, eligibility, and you're struggling with your standardized test, your ACT or SAT, you need your GPA to kind of on that sliding scale to help you out. Well, if you get 70s, basically, that could actually pull your grades down and hurt you. So we didn't want to use a pass-fail. Also, we believe that a pass-fail didn't give a kid an opportunity to bring their grade up if this actually worked out for them. So that's why we went away with that. Some other questions about third 9 as far as report cards. Those have already been sent out at the end of the third 9 weeks, which is March 26th. One of the things that we did when we came back, we were supposed to come back from spring break, we didn't. So we knew that the end of the third 9 weeks would have been that Friday of the first extension of our spring break. And one of the things that we were really worried about was that we know that a lot of times kids use that last week. I mean, they're procrastinating. We know how kids work, okay? And what can I do to make my grade bigger? Bring my grade up? Well, you could have done all the things I asked you to do the first 8 weeks of the 9 weeks, but since you didn't, here's some things you can do. Okay, we know teachers operate like that because they want their kids to pass. So what we told our principals, which in turn we asked them to tell our teachers, is to, at this point, while we extended the grading period until the following Wednesday, was to take any and everything they could from kids in any way possible. If it's a picture from a cell phone of something that they didn't turn in, take it. If it's something extra they could turn in, take it. Email, take it. Anything they could get to help their grades get up. So we were looking at that because we know kid behavior and we know what they do. So that was one of our concerns. The rest of the document talks about STAR and EOC. We know that STAR tests have been canceled for this year, so your SSI grades 5 and 8, they don't have to pass those tests to go to the next grade level. EOCs are canceled for this year. So what we want to do is explain in this document, if you're in, let's say like my son, he is in English 1 and biology this year. He will not have to take those tests this year, and he will never have to take those tests. However, if he was a student that had failed a test, let's say failed his biology test last year, he was retesting this year, he would still have to pass that test in the future. So really, the exemption works if you pass the class that you're enrolled in right now, okay? And if you're a senior and you have tests remaining, pretty much you're going to get a pass on the test, but you have to still complete anything that's at IGC, Individual Graduation Committee requirements, so that committee can meet and determine whether or not you can graduate. Dual credit classes, of course, those are up to UT Tyler or Navarro, whoever we use in those, with those teachers. And then the very last thing is elementary school grading, which I talked about at the very beginning. They're using a portfolio model of what they're getting done this 9 weeks, plus what they've already done to make grade placement decisions for next year. That was fast, sorry. Any questions?
Any questions or comments for Dr. Everett? Go ahead, Ms. Kriegel.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Dr. Everett. I really, after studying this, as you know, I was senior advocate in that last week, and I just want to be assured that every kid received the conversation that they could make up grades, because we do have special ed situations. We have kids that failed tests at the end of, right before spring break, and I just want to be assured that every kid understood that they had the opportunity to make up or to do whatever. They had that last week to fix things, because that's not what I'm hearing.
Right. I know what they were told. I know what I asked the principals to do. If that message got all the way to the kid level, I can't assure you 100% that did happen. But what I can assure you of is that high school admin on both campuses will take a look at grades and talk to those teachers that have, especially seniors. We know that this semester is critical. I mean, some of the classes that seniors are in right now, it's the first time they've ever taken it. You know, if they're in economics or government, those classes that they have to have and they've never taken it, this is it. So we know that's important. And I've already talked to Ms. Harris about a drop the lowest grade type thing that we can maybe do if we're looking at that third 9 weeks. That's critical to them, and that's what we will do going forward.
So they may have an opportunity to
Yes.
look back at that third 9 weeks.
Yes, we will. They will have an
Okay,
opportunity.
because that's not the message that I had received from parents, that those kids had the opportunity. And frankly, it affects everybody. It affects the lowest kids that failed. It affects the top 25%, it affects the top 10%, and it affects the top 1 or 2%. So,
Exactly.
you know,
Did you get the sense that they were asking the teachers and the teachers says, no, the 9 weeks is over, that's it? Or did you get the sense they're not getting the message, or
I had the sense that the kids really didn't understand that they had the opportunity
Okay.
to do anything.
That's the easiest one to
those
fix.
And grades were supposed to be cut off the Friday after they didn't return, so that was a full week that they missed.
And then we extended that.
Yeah, part of that opportunity was, we got extended a week, then we got extended, so I think there was a time when we really thought we were coming back, and then we didn't, and then we haven't. So that's a piece where we need to go back. We had to get the grades done. We have to provide every 3 weeks, we have to provide a progress report. At the end of the 9 weeks, third 9 weeks was the progress report time. We have to provide that. We pushed it out another few days after that Friday deadline. We leave 5 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and due on Wednesday at 4 o'clock to give our teachers extra time to get finished and to get anything in that they could. So, but we had to get the grading period ended. So that's why we had to do what we had to do. But to your point, if they need extra, in my opinion, grace is something we should give as much as we possibly can in it right now, because we're all in uncharted waters with this. The kids didn't ask for this. The teachers didn't ask for it. It's not their fault. And
So if a parent has a concern and they're listening to you right now, you would say, if you think you fell into that area that your child did not understand, there was time to redo, and they've already gotten a grade, who do they call?
If I'm a Waxahachie High School student, I'm going to contact my grade level, my assistant principal that's assigned to me.
Okay.
Because that's what Ms. Harris is going to do, is she's going to ask her assistant principals to be the people over their department.
So if anyone asks, tell them they need, as soon as possible, to call their child's assistant, or the
email.
child to call their own assistant principal and explain the situation for the third 9 weeks.
Yes.
Any other questions?
I do have a comment.
Yes,
The internet, we are having huge issues. I have top line internet, and I had no internet Monday, nothing. And I know that our kids are having a lot of internet, and I'm really glad for this plan, because I've heard that the top kids, that their grades are not what they were, that they are in a regular classroom, and it's really affecting. And I've got parents calling me freaked out because their kid literally has never made a B in their life, and they're standing at a B right now. I mean, and they've never made a B on anything, so.
That's another good reason for us going to 6 weeks grades. Another good reason for us going to 6 weeks
Yeah,
grades.
that's exactly. So I'm very pleased with that.
But please, if someone has a concern, I'm telling you what Dr. Averett said is his philosophy, it's Ms. Mott's philosophy. If you feel like your child is not, the grades aren't there, or that they missed the boat at first because they weren't hooked in for whatever reason, call somebody. I mean, it's not too late. Usually we have very tight timelines, but Dr. Averett used a good word. We're trying to extend as much grace as possible. Show us what you've got. Show us maybe that you weren't communicated with. Show us that you've done the project again. Let us know what we can do. But there is a timeline before school's out, or soon after school's out. So now's the time to call. I know Ms. Harris's counselors have been calling seniors to address this situation about grades and missing assignments. So even the counselors are involved. Thank you, Ms. Harris.
So yeah, one of the questions today in our early morning was, how many high school kids are we down to that we haven't made contact with, or they haven't engaged since we get back? The number's down to 30. We were at 35 this morning, now we're down to 30. And they're beating the bushes as much as they can to get a hold of kids, to get them engaged. That's a lot of effort after over 2,500 kids up there to get down to 30 kids.
And we're also sending out our SROs and our security people, not to enforce, because they've not connected, but if we want to know why we can't find them and why the parent or the child hasn't. So if we're to the point now, we're sending, and the SROs have done a great job going out there and to very kindly saying, we still have compulsory attendance. You still have to be, we have to have things going. And then Ms. Harris is saying that teachers are submitting grade changes as students submit work. So know that Ms. Harris is on this, Dr. Averett is on this, and so hopefully this message gets to those parents, Ms. Kriegel, and if you find out it's not, that they say, hey, you let us know.
The people that contacted me, I will contact
Good.
them and be sure that they're listening tonight.
Yes, thank you. And thank you for using the G word for grace, and this is what we're going to be doing. We understand, and you explained it very well, Kids didn't ask for it, teachers didn't ask for it, we're in this situation. Give us some effort, show us what you're doing. Our teachers are working their hearts out, and we're going to get through this. Give us a reason to give you a good grade.
Yes, ma'am. You bet.
Question. I was asked by several teachers, I spent the afternoon, them actually calling me about progress reports.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, we are sending out progress reports. We
Yeah,
have sent them out today.
We're required to do that. Every 3 weeks, we have to send a
Right.
progress report. I got several from my own kids. So I know they're sending them out.
He can't wait to get home.
I got it from my high schooler and my junior high kid. So,
So they're in good company? Is that what you're saying?
yes, so. But I'll reinforce that too. 'Cause we have principals meeting every Tuesday now. We used to only meet every 3 weeks. Now we meet every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. And right after that, we have our secondary and elementary breakouts. And so as these issues come up, we tackle them on a weekly basis now instead of every 3 weeks. So that'll be something on my agenda for tomorrow too. Yes, ma'am.
I just have a
And-
comment.
Yes,
Go
ma'am.
ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, you're not asking for action. This is an informational item, correct?
Yeah, right.
Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to say kudos to all those staff members that are out there contacting the kids because, oh my gosh, that's huge. You know, that's great that you've only got a few that, you know, that you haven't been able to get in touch with because, you know, I just,
Elementary
It's-
folks were on the ball early, often and early. They got their lists down to single digits right off the bat. So those folks have been hitting the ground hard, and so is secondary. So I'm really happy about how they've been working.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ed.
Thank you. Yes, thank you.
Okay, next item is our consent agenda.
Could I add something before you start? I made a commitment to you that I wouldn't be putting things in front of you last minute to approve. You do not have to approve this. But just this afternoon, we got the technology stuff for Simpson. It can wait till the next meeting, but the pages we've given you, Mr. Calden, which was what he would have put in the agenda. We received 3 quotes on the technology components necessary to open Simpson. It'd be classroom computers and student devices. We received them today. They're needed for opening the campus and would bring the available technology at Simpson on par with other campuses. If you want to wait and not approve it later, till the next meeting, I understand, but it is just simply what we would have ordered for Simpson if it'd come in last week. In fact, Mr. Calden is here in person. So if you have any
Let's see if
questions,
we have any questions. Okay. All right, sorry. Consent agenda, go ahead. Okay. For Mr. Collins? Morning, Mr. Collins.
Is that package completely identical in capability? Is there a wide variance in pricing?
Yes, sir. Yep, those quotes are for the same product, same specifications, same
amazing?
numbers between those vendors.
so why do you think that is?
There are certain manufacturers right now that are running some specials because their inventory is a little high. And so some of those vendors carry those products and others don't. And so that's where you're seeing some of those price breaks come in.
Oh, hey,
This is going to come out of the local technology budget, so it's not even actually an expenditure of the bond funds. So it will save our local technology budget a little bit of money, yes, sir.
Saving is saving. It doesn't matter which
Saving is
budget it is.
saving.
Any other questions, Mr. Collins? Okay, so our consent agenda, we have items A through E. We can take them all in one motion, individual motions, or if there's one or two particular items you'd like to remove for discussion, we can do that as well.
and if you would ask if they are including the technology items, they would
That would
articulate
fall under
that.
item B, correct?
It would be B2.
So if you're okay with what was presented tonight, then I can just take a motion as presented. If not, we'll need to clarify.
I'll make a motion to approve consent agenda items A through E with the inclusion of the
Technology Simpson.
technology,
I have a motion by Mr. Starnes.
Thank you, Ms.
Yes,
Thank you,
the
Mr.
technology.
Including it.
additional technology.
Including, so as presented on your agenda. So I have a motion by Mrs. Starnader. Second by Ms. Timmerman. Is there any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you, Mr. Carlton.
Thank you. All right. Item 7 is our one and only action item of the night. Consideration and action to approve delegation of authority to respond to
Reworded? I thought
COVID-19
we-
emergency.
Okay. Well, you have the whereases in yours, but we have a last-minute update, and Mr. Avenshine always makes certain we have the latest and greatest. I think he's rewritten this 20 times.
Thank you, Dr. Kane, and let me apologize that you didn't have the most recent version in your board book, but your board book action sheet does cover all of the points. Your board book action sheet referenced essentially 10 items, and those 10 items are reflected here in this resolution. This resolution just has all of the most up-to-date facts that have occurred, and those facts continue to evolve every week as the governor makes an announcement, the county makes an announcement, the city makes an announcement, and that's why we're here. And that's ultimately what all 1,100 plus school districts in the state have had to wrestle with. Items such as what you just discussed in earnest, the EIC, your board policy for grading and the need for grace during this season, as all of our parents and all of our staff are working so hard with our students who are working so hard to make the best of this new period of distance learning. And so right now, we know our governor yesterday extended his emergency declaration to essentially allow the state of Texas to receive funding for the next 30 days. On May 12th, he may extend it further. The most recent executive order is still GA 14. That's the one that closes school to the return of public and the return of students until no earlier than May 4th. May it be extended? Sure, it may be extended. And this resolution would simply just allow your superintendent with your authority to continue on making decisions in the best interest of the district, meaning its students, so that we can continue our operations, so that we can do whatever's necessary from TEA as we may need to apply for waivers that are completely not at our own discretion, meaning normally we hold to a high standard and don't seek waivers. We don't seek waivers for more than 22 kids in a classroom because we don't put more than 22 kids in kindergarten through fourth grade classrooms. We don't seek many waivers at all. We don't seek waivers for our attendance days because we have enough hours that we have a surplus of 8+ days because we believe it's good for our kids. But in this time, there is a need because we're not allowed by law to bring our kids back into school to seek those waivers and put all of the evidence in the documents that the commissioners approved to show all of the good faith and good efforts that we're doing to give as much learning as we can to our students. So that's why you have this resolution, to allow your school district to continue to operate during these uncertain times with a commitment from your administration, with a commitment from your superintendent that everything we do, we're going to bring back to you in the form of a report each and every month as we continue to live in this alternative era.
And we would put it on the board report because not only do I feel like the board needs to know, but I think the community needs to know that it would be, we needed to do this because we couldn't wait till the board meeting. And so this is what I did. One, so you'll know. Two, so you can comment. But I assure you that there won't be anything that's approved that's outside of our usual operating that we do not report on. Obviously, if it's something big in the hour, you'd get a text or an email. But if it's just minor things like, you got to go ahead and do this, but if you don't do a waiver, those kinds of things would wait. But every exception would be reported at the next board meeting.
We're real fortunate in the state that so many entities are working together, and that means school districts, independent school districts are sharing their resources. And so TASB, the school law division, in-house counsel from around the state are meeting once a week. And so this resolution started looking a lot like something Lake Travis had done, because it's a lot like what Lake Travis ISD had done, with some parts that Katy ISD did and some other school districts, just to name a few. Because again, we're all working together and borrowing from each other. And the things that we wind up putting together for our technology resources, the means by which we're feeding kids, there's other districts looking at us, borrowing some of what we're doing. So we're all trying to take care of all of our kids the best way we can during these uncertain times. So just urge you to approve the resolution that's before you, and Mr. Autry to sign this version, and not the one that was in your gray folder previously tonight.
Okay, at this time, I will entertain a motion to approve the delegation of authority to respond to COVID-19 emergency as presented by Mr. Alvin.
So moved.
Motion by McCutcheon, second by Mr. Schofield. Is there any other discussion? Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Okay, it is now 7:32. We're going to reconvene back into closed session according to Texas Government Code, Section 551.001 et sec. It is 7:32.
Okay. Yeah, and technology.